Hari Om. Let us now continue reading from Poojya Swamiji's book, The Value of Values. We are examining the fourth value, namely Kshantih. So, Poojya Swamiji was saying, my attitude should be that I am prepared to accommodate and accept all surprises. Hence, Hence, I accommodate people the same way as I accommodate inert objects. I take them as they are. I do not like to be overbaked by the summer sun, but I do not ask the sun to stop shining. Very loaded sentence. I do not like to be overbaked by the summer sun, but I do not ask the sun to stop shining. I appreciate the mixed blessing of a hot, shining sun and understand that whether it is a mixed blessing or not, I cannot turn the sun off. I do not ask a honeybee to become stingless. Wrong expectation, isn't it? Nor do I hate honeybees if I get stung. I appreciate the role of the honeybee and enjoy honey. However, I find it much harder to have the same attitude which I have towards insects and inert objects, towards people. I am able to relate myself properly to an inert object or a wild creature because I do not expect any change from it. However, I expect people to be able to change, to become more pleasant to me. My mind is troubled with continuous demands for change so that others in my life will be more to my liking. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the reality is that people may not be able to change. Often, even if they do want to change, often, if they do want to change, they cannot. When he or she does not change, when he or she does not change, even though willing to change, it only means that he or she has no strength of will. There is nothing we can do but accommodate such a person. When the other person does not change because he or she is not willing to try, one can attempt to convince the person of the desirability, of the need for change. If we cannot convince the person, if we cannot convince the person, there is nothing we can do except to accommodate him or her. We can say that the world is wide and large enough to accommodate all of us. Variety makes life more interesting. In the next section, Swamiji makes an important statement. He says, respond to the person, not to the action. Respond to the person, not to the action. In order to discover within myself a value for accommodation, that's what we are trying to analyze and discover over here. In order to discover within myself a value for accommodation, I should look at the person behind the act. Usually, while responding to a person's behavior, to the person's action, I find that it is difficult to be accommodative. I find that it is difficult to be accommodative. However, when I try to understand the cause behind the action, I put myself in a position to respond to the person, not to the action. Thereby, my response to the person can be an accommodative response. I try to see what is behind the fit of anger or outburst of jealousy or domineering manner. I respond to the person and not to the actions. If I cannot see what is behind the actions, nonetheless, I keep in mind the fact that many reasons unknown to me set the stage for the other person's action. With this frame of mind, I find it natural to be accommodative. It is a matter of training oneself. In a situation where my response is to the person rather than to the behavior, I find myself staying calm. In fact, resolution of an argument between people is nearly always the result of the concerned parties' mutual appreciation as persons rather than any new attitude towards the precipitating behavior. Let me reread that sentence, an important sentence. In fact, resolution of an argument between people is nearly always the result of the concerned parties' mutual appreciation as persons rather than any new attitude towards the precipitating behavior. Another important section coming up, which is Swamiji says mechanical reactions block accommodation. Mechanical reactions block accommodation. To be free to respond to the person, I must be free of mechanical reactions. reacting mechanically. I must choose my attitude and act deliberately. A reaction is a mechanical, non deliberate sort of behavior on my part. It is a conditioned response borrowed from previous experiences or not given prior sanction by my will. It is a response which I do not measure against the value structure that I am trying to assimilate, but I just allow it to happen. Sometimes my reaction may be an action or an attitude that I would do or hold after reflection, sanction. At other times, my reaction may be completely contrary to the attitudes and actions I would choose to hold or do. Reactions can go against my wisdom, learning, and prior experiences. These factors get relegated to the background and the reaction happens. All that I have previously learned becomes worthless to me. I may have read the scriptures of the world. I may be a great student of ethical systems. I may be a professional degree holding advisor. But when it comes to a reaction, it will be just as mechanical as anyone else's. Wisdom, learning, experience will not count at all. Therefore, until I have thoroughly assimilated ethical values, which comprise a ground out of which right attitudes and actions spontaneously arise, I must avoid reactions with alertness. Instead, deliberately, reflectively, I choose my attitudes and actions. When I avoid reactions, I am free to choose my actions and attitudes. I can choose to be accommodative in my thoughts, words, and deeds. A sentence, an idea worth remembering, and therefore I would like to reread that portion. When I avoid reactions, when I avoid reactions, I am free to choose any actions and attitudes. I have a certain freedom. I have a certain leeway. I can distance myself and say that I choose to behave this way. I choose my next action and my attitude and my sense of accommodation. I can choose to be accommodative in my thoughts, words, and deeds. Kshantih and ahimsa, qualities of a saint. Let's see what Poojya Swamiji has to say about these two values. Kshantih, accommodation, is a saintly quality. Among all the qualities, ahimsa and Kshantih constitute the qualities, perhaps the minimum qualifications of a saint. One need not have wisdom, one need not have scriptural learning to be a saint, but one must have these two values. A saint is a person who never consciously hurts another person by action, word, or thought, who accepts people, good or bad, just as they are, and who has an endless capacity to be accommodative, forgiving, and merciful. These qualities, accommodation, forgiveness, mercifulness, are included in the quality called Kshantih. A saint always has Kshantih, an infinite capacity for compassion. He responds to the person, not to the action. He sees wrong action as a mistake born of inner conflict and is humane to the person who commits it. An attitude of Kshantih, accommodation, expands one's heart. The heart becomes so commodious that it accommodates all people and circumstances just as they are, without desire or demand that they be different. This is Kshantih. Let us continue our reading of this valuable book, The Value of Values, in the following capsules. Hari Om. Om Durjana Sajjano Bhuyad Sajjana Shanti Mapnuyad Shanto Muccheta Bandhebhyah Muktaschanyan Vimochayet Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.